Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with Python SDK for Azure. As you know, Microsoft Azure provides Python modules to interact with the Azure for your Azure automations. So in this video, we're gonna see how to consume those Python modules and try to do certain automations or certain interaction with the Azure. Okay. So before I get started with this demo, a kind request, please do subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. So with that note, we can get started with this demo. Yeah. So here to consume the Python SDK for Azure automations, you need to have your system installed with the two prerequisite software, and you need to have one more prerequisite. That is, first one, you should have a subscription in the Azure cloud or in your Azure portal. Like me, you see this is my Azure portal, and in this one I have a subscription called, this is the Cloud Quick Labs, which is my YouTube channel name, right? And then you should have your system installed with the two particular softwares. Okay, especially I'm using Windows. Okay, so in this system you should have Python should be installed, and then AGCLI should be installed. If you have not installed Python in your system, maybe you can watch my previous video which explains how you can install Python in Windows. Okay, so my system is again Windows. Let me make a point here. So I'm using Windows for all this demo, and I have already installed a Python in my system. I'm going to show you the Python is already installed in my system by using command python hyphen version. Yeah, and I have the Python 3.9.4 version been installed, and also the second software requirement, that is you should have AGCLI, that is Azure command line interface should be installed in your system. If you are not installed, maybe you can Google through the internet. You can Google it and get to the steps. Okay, Microsoft provides very good documents on how you can install that AGCLI on your system, especially whatever the flavor you have, like Mac, Windows or Linux, whatever it is. Okay, so again, my system is already been installed with the AGCLI. Let me show you that AG version, right? So I have all the prerequisite been installed in my system. Okay, I said I have the subscription. I said I have installed with the Python version, and also have the AGCLI been installed. Okay, so now I'm done with the prerequisite. Okay, so once the prerequisite done, then now you are good to execute some good example Python script which is meant to interact with the Azure to do certain resource creation or certain automations in general. Okay, so in this video, we're going to create a resource group, a storage account, and we're going to create a blob within the storage account. Okay, so that is the aim of this video, and which will become a get started, which is an example get started with the Python SDK. All right, so for this case, I have written a provision underscore org.python file. So this is the Python file I have taken from the Microsoft. I can tell you, I have taken bits and pieces here and prepared this .py file. All right, so before you run or execute this file, there is a prerequisite for this file as well. So those file, we call it as a requirements.txt file. Microsoft has two steps to execute the Python against Azure. Especially one is, you should keep all the required Python modules in the txt file with the name called requirement.txt, right? And in a certain in this column like this, and then you need to execute this requirement.txt file, and after that only you have to run the Python file. Okay, so here, as I said, I'm going to creating a resource group, a storage account, and a blob within the storage account, right? So for this case, I need these three modules, these three Azure modules. Okay, so here Azure management resources, which is a common module of Python SDK for Azure, and then we are interacting with the storage, right? So this is the storage module being imported, and finally we are also having the Azure identities. Okay, all right, so this is the requirement.txt file updates, and in the provision dot underscore dot py file, nothing but this is a Python script. Okay, so this is an example Python script that I'm going to show you in this one. Let me walk you through this, and be patientful, be careful, try to understand what is this. Okay, so here we are importing some general Python modules here, that is OS and random, which is required down the line. And finally, we have, if you see here, I am consuming identities, management resources, Azure management resources, Azure management storage account, right? So from within this, main module, we are, importing certain sub modules, right? Under identity, Azure.identity, we are importing Azure CLI credentials module. Similarly, from the resources, that is Azure.management.resources, we are importing resource management client, right? Now, So as I said, there is a need of the Azure CLI should be installed in your system. Why? Because the Azure CLI credentials is the module. We're gonna leverage that, and this module is again depending on the login profile set by the Azure CLI. We are not hard coding any secret here, but the Python SDK for Azure has the capability to reuse the login profile being set by the Azure CLI. Okay, and that is the reason we are using this module to consume that. How? I will show you right down the line. And here we are importing the resource management client, then storage management client. Here, as I said, we are directly invoking the function called Azure CLI credentials, and that function is that function is having some return types which is captured in this credential one. And you see I am keeping one variable called subscription ID. This is my subscription ID, and this credentials is used down the line. If you see here, resource management client, if you see the second module itself, we are invoking the function within the resource management client, and in that one we are retrieving the required credentials. Okay, required credentials of belongs to this credentials, okay, which has been set by the Azure CLI. So this function retrieves the credentials been set by the Azure CLI, gives as a parameter here in the resource management client, and with the input again addendum input, that is a subscription. Okay, so to get the credentials and the subscription ID, you are setting the context of the Azure. In general, if you are well known with the Azure PowerShell, to use the Azure PowerShell or AG PowerShell commands, we always set the context of a subscription. Okay, without setting the context of subscription, you cannot interact with the resources present in a subscription, or you cannot create, delete, read anything. You cannot do until you set the context in the Azure PowerShell. Hope you know that, right? And that's what we are doing here by using the Python in Python's context. Okay, so we are setting the context of the Azure resource client belongs to this subscription. Okay, and then we are keeping certain parameters or certain variables which is required down the line. One is the resource group name. You see, this is my resource group name, and the location. So this is the central US location. Okay, all right. Now we are set with the prerequisite of the code. Now it is time to get started with executing the functions. In general, in Python, generally every function is called as a APIs. Okay, since we are using the Python SDK, so under the hood Python SDK will expose some APIs. Okay, let me call those functions as an APIs, right? And we are invoking those functions bar APIs or functions or APIs. Okay, all right. So here first one, we are provisioning a resource group. Okay, to provision a resource group, I will go back. So you see the resource client. Okay, we are leveraging the resource client. In that one, we are invoking the couple of sub functions. One is the resource groups. Under that one, create update resource group with the parameters resource group name and the location. Okay, and the location is been provided in the dictionary. Okay, so this is the dictionary. All right, so with that you are invoking the function, and this is the one line function is enough for creating a resource group for you. Okay, I will just set back and let me save this, right? So one liner command is very quick. Okay, so why do we have to use Python SDK? In the sense, the Python SDK provides a very quick functionality. This is very program friendly. This is very developer friendly, and this is very quick. Okay, there are so many advantages. Okay, when you compare with the CLI tools like Azure PowerShell, AGCLI, right? So all those are generally meant for command line utilities, but SDK is meant for sophisticated automation purpose. Okay, I always stand with using SDKs for automations, which really makes sense in automations. Then you are using the PowerShells like Azure PowerShell or CLI based automations. Okay, all right. Okay, now so we are printing the result. Okay, so once the resource group is created, we have been printing this one. Finally, we will go to the step 2 where we are actually creating a storage account. And if you see, right, again I need to now, so here we are setting resource by resource context. Okay, earlier we set the resource for resource context. Now we have to set the context for the storage account. As I said above, we are importing the storage management client. Okay, so for that storage management client, we have to set the credentials again by passing the credentials of the Azure CLI and the subscription ID. Then we got this storage client, and we need to use that to create the storage account. Okay, so if we see, right, so here we are creating some unique name which is required to create a storage account, right? And that is being used. So here we are using the storage client and identifying whether that name is available to create a storage account or not, right? So this is the syntax for that. I'm gonna show you that as well. So let me make this minimize. Okay, all right. So here storage account check name availability. Okay, so we are checking if this storage name is available to create a storage account, right? And that the output of nothing but it is being checked for its available. If you see, if not available, in the sense if it is false, right, then we're gonna come out of it. Okay, so nothing but if it is not there, you cannot create a storage account with the same name, right? And that is what it has been done with this if loop. Okay, so we are exiting out of the script. If it is there, which is a good case, okay, then we are going to create a storage account for us. How? We are again leveraging the storage client, calling the storage accounts begin create, right? And in that one we are giving the resource group name, storage account, right? And in the map or in the dictionary we are giving the location, kind, and the SKU, right? If you remember, while you are creating the storage account with using AZ PowerShell or Azure PowerShell or AGCLI, right, you're going to give these inputs as well. These are mandatory inputs, okay? And that's what you are doing here in the Python SDK as well, right? So when you invoke this API, that is begin create under storage account, you are initiating a resource creation or storage account creation. So in the poller, we are getting the result, okay? And finally, we are printing the result in the Python code. Finally, we are doing one more thing. What we are doing? So we are retrieving the credentials and creating the blob underneath one. So first one, retrieve the account's primary access key, that is a resource, storage account's primary access key, and generate a connection string. Okay, so this is also very important step. Okay, maybe you can leverage the a connection string to interact with the storage account for creating the blob, uploading the blob, deleting the blob. Yeah, so you can do that, and that's what it has been done. Okay, so we are using the storage client. Then we are invoking the storage accounts list keys, right? In that one we are giving the storage name, right? Resource group is been given, then the storage account name is been given here, and finally we are we are getting the keys, and that is being print here, right? And finally connection string is being created. If you see, right, a connection string is been framed dynamically. If I can show you this one, all right, so that is where here. So if you see here, the default endpoint protocol equal to HTTP, endpoint suffix equal to this one, right? Account name is equal to storage account name, account key is equal to the key, right? The keys. Okay, so we are creating a connection string here dynamically, and that is being print here. And finally, in the fourth step, we are provisioning the blob container. Okay, nothing but we are creating a subfolder under the a storage account, and the container name is blob container. Let me give my channel name here. Okay, that is Cloud Quick Labs. Yeah. All right, so we are doing quick labs here, right? So here is the container name, and then we are creating the storage client blob containers. Okay, so in that one again, right, if you see, there is a difference here. Earlier it was storage account interactions, now we are interacting with the blob containers. Create it, right? We are passing the storage group name, storage resource group name, that our storage RG name, storage account name, container name, right? Yeah, and finally creating a blob, and finally giving the output. Okay, so this is the script which I have completely walked you through this one. Anyways, this script will be kept in my GitHub repo, and the GitHub repo link will be shared in this video's description. Maybe you can find it there and try it from your side. Okay, I'm going to execute this command from the my Visual Studio Code, or I can do it from the PowerShell, but I'm comfortable with the Visual Studio Code. I'm going to explain that. I know I'm going to execute there from there. Now, okay, so now we are done with this requirement .py file. Now the time has come to execute it. Okay, so before execution, as I said, we need to load. Okay, so we need to first log in. Why we need to log in? So that we can set the context, or context, or you can first log in into your Azure portal. Okay, so that's what we are doing by this command. I'm using AZCLI use device code. Why? Because so that I can log in with using the code. Okay. All right, so let me drag down and see if it has returned. Okay, here you go, it has written something, and let me copy this. You see, right? See, the execution of AZ PowerShell or AZCLI, it takes some time. Okay, it takes minutes, maybe milliminute. Okay, it takes certain times. Okay, the time does make sense. These login time does make sense when the command keeps on increasing. Okay, the number of commands that you need to require to execute increases, the time makes sense. Okay, but that is the reason I'm always recommending, or I'm always stand with the using SDKs for your automations. Okay, so why I'm doing so? Because that gives you speed. Again, it will help you to keep up with the your basic coding capabilities. Okay, all right, now I'm going to enter. Okay, so I'm going to set this context now. So once I agree all these one, we're gonna complete the context set, and this context set will be given output. Okay, so we see some output here. You see my cursor is, and here you go, right? It has given some output. Right now, I'm gonna show you like AZ account show, right? So what does it means? It means get AZ context. That's what it does. Okay. So we have already set the context, in the sense our credentials is already been loaded by the AZ CLI. Now we have to do the next step, that is pip install requirement. Okay, so anyways, let me tell you, these files are being kept where I have kept these files under this path. Okay, so I will do this path. So for this case, you make sure that you are in the same path wherever your files are being kept. So don't forget to do the cd to that path, and then start executing these commands. Okay, so first one we already done. Now let's install those prerequisites. Okay, that is a requirement.txt, and I'm going to hit the enter. So basically what does it, in the sense, it will again try to install those Python SDK modules belong to the storage account, resource management, identity, and all. Okay, all right, so it takes some time, so be patient. If you see here, it's currently importing those, right? And this is must and should. Okay, without this, the PowerShell does not, the Python script does not works. Okay, the Python script which I walked you through does not works. That's very important. Okay, all right, so installing the collected packages for, if you see here, the management storage account. Okay, so currently it is installing for storage account, and let's wait for that. So basically it's going to take certain time. Yeah, so once these modules are been installed, then you are good to consume it. Okay, all right, so basically it is taking some time. Okay, let's wait for that. So this is a completely live demo. Okay, so I'm not doing any kind of stop and start. Okay, but basically I'm showing you what is the reality here. Okay, all right, so let me wait for it, and while it is executing, let me go back. Okay, so let me go back to the this is my subscription. I'm going to show you. I will go to the resource group. In the resource group, there are no resource group. Okay, now we're going to create. Okay, so now we're going to create that. When I execute that Python script, and we realize we can do that. Okay, we can interact with the Azure with using Python SDK. If you see here, right, it has successfully installed the prerequisite or requisite.modules, requisite.txt modules, or requirement modules. Okay, in general. All right, so we are done with the requirements. Now time has come to execute our script and realize how fast this one. Okay, so right now let me execute this script, and you will experience the certainty. Okay, so if you see here, there is no such file in the directory. Okay, that's the reason I told you. That's the reason I told you this is very important. Okay, since the provision.blob is not the blob, that is not my file name, so it is the reason it is throwing the error. My file name is provision.rg. Okay, let me rename it provision.rg. All right, so let me run this one, right? And that's the reason. So this is the reason I said you to do the cd. Now let's run the script, that is python provision_rg, which is actually creates a resource group, creates a storage account, creates a blob. Okay, it does 3 jobs, right? If you see here, the speed of it this one. Okay, so this is the actually it takes the action very quickly. Okay, so basically it is doing a couple of things here. Let's keep on refreshing, and we should see the resource group being created here for us, and the storage account is being created here. Okay, if you see here, you seems to be looking for the resources in the list. Okay, all right, so this is try this view again. Okay, all right, so our resource group is created, and now let's see our storage group. Storage account is also been created. That the storage account itself creation is take some time. Okay, right now you see the provision the RG. Okay, so we have provisioned the RG now, and then the storage account is also been provisioned. The connection string is also been provisioned, and the connection string has been built, and blob is also created. All right, looks like everything has been done. Okay, so this is very fast. Okay, let's say if you are doing this job with using AGCLI or with using the Azure PowerShell, you should have few more seconds. Okay, you should deal with it a few more number of times. Okay, here you go. Our storage account is also been created, and I'm going to dig down into the storage account, and I'm going to show you that the blob is also been created. If I go to the containers, okay, so under the container we should see Cloud Quick Labs. Cloud Quick Labs container has to be there. Okay, so that marks the completion of our demo. So if you see here, the container is been there, okay? All right, so that's all. I have successfully shown you the things to be shown in this video. A kind request, please just subscribe my channel. That would really encourage me a lot. Yeah, so with that note, finally, thank you very much and see you in the next video.